Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to the Weekend Wellness Hour show. Today we have a unique guest who I met through some friends of mine over the summer. He is the vice president of a company called LaKota. And LaKota is one of the leading companies in Canada that provides natural pain relievers for the population. And so when I met Tara and Kent, who own the company, I started asking them a lot of questions, and I really was interested in bringing someone on who could tell us and share with us about natural pain relievers and herbs. And so they brought to me Reinhardt Haukenfrers. And thank you so much, Reinhardt, for joining us. He is the vice president of this company. So thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. And I'm really looking forward to our conversation. I'm a big fan of what you do, with on your website, some really good information and stuff like that. So yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to our conversation.
Thanks
for
you. I
having
appreciate
me.
it. Yes. Now you have quite a unique background because you have an accounting background, you're the vice president,
Yes.
CEO,
hmm
and you're into data analysis. And you're into pain relief. So can you tell us a little bit
Yes.
about you?
Well, yes, I'm definitely, I'm an accountant. I'm a chartered professional accountant in Canada. So that's kind of my, I guess an analytical background. And kind of I brought that, like I joined LaKota about 20 years ago now.
Okay.
And just because I'm actually, I knew Kent since high school. So kind of,
Nice.
yeah. So really, I knew them really well, and they're just, farmers in just a small BC town in northern BC there. And yeah, they started LaKota with one of their friends, and because basically they were looking for a natural option for arthritis pain relief, especially because Kent's dad was he's starting to get arthritis. He's a little bit older, and so they're just looking at all these different things for natural options for arthritis pain relief, especially because it's a chronic condition. It's not something that comes and goes. It's like you have this pain all the time. Anyways, yeah, so they got together with this friend of theirs who he has a First Nations background, and they developed these products after doing just a ton of research about different herbs and some of the traditional herbs combined with some newer ingredients, some natural ingredients. And they started this company basically on the farm. It was just from nothing, right? And they just started basically literally one bottle at a time, kind of thing, one health food store at a time. And the way, and because they really believed in this product, because Don, of course, used the product and it worked for him. And actually, as another story, Kent, actually, he's an avid snowmobiler. Like he's a really competitive snowmobiler, but he once got into an avalanche, and he was seriously injured in this.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, it was quite bad. Nice. Anyways, so that he had some severe pain after this, being in an avalanche, of course, right?
Oh yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, you can imagine what that would be like. Anyways, so then he started taking these capsules that they had developed and this roll-on pain reliever, and he was just blown away at how effective it was. So that really, because they believed so strongly in the product and its effectiveness, they basically, the expression bet the farm. That's really what they kind of did with this product. Is what they at the beginning, what they did was they started advertising it just locally and whatever, and it started getting some traction. And they decided to do like a national ad in the Canadian Health magazine. And but then the problem was they couldn't get health food stores to carry the product, because health food stores, we have too many products, we don't want another product.
Yeah.
So what they actually did was they sent free product to every health food store in Canada.
Wow.
Just so that they would have product to sell. And because they did this, it was available when they put out this ad in the national magazine. And that basically kind of jump started and got the product to start pulling through the stores. And once the stores, they had this free product and they sold it, they ordered more because people kept wanting more and more of it. Eh? So it was, it's a fascinating story. And I think it kind of illustrates really the principle of, when you're marketing or when you're trying to do something, you have to be different. You can't just do whatever everybody else is doing, because this is not something that anybody would have recommended for them to do as a business strategy per se.
Yeah.
So it was it's a fascinating story, and how it kind of took off, just because the products work. They believe so strongly in the products. And
how did they come up with this original product? Do you know, did they work with someone, or they just started putting different herbs together? And
they did a bunch of their own research, and they did work with, they did work with people, as far as, some people who had some technical expertise in the herbal industries and things like that, and some traditional medicine as well. And they just kind of formulated this and kept kind of refining it until it got to the place, where it is kind of today, I guess, where, because it has a combination of herbs, because we have, there's a herbal product that's a capsule that we have, and we also have like a roll-on pain reliever that people can put, directly on a joint or something to get that instant, near instant pain relief.
That's amazing. And so the premise of what you're going for are natural pain relievers. So are there specific herbs that you're looking at? Are there other sources? What does that entail for a natural pain reliever?
It's really like the capsules are based around the white willow bark, devil's claw, and Boswellia. Those are kind of sort of the cornerstone herbs that are in the products.
Okay.
Yeah. And the white willow bark, if people don't know, that is the original form of aspirin, like before it was sort of a chemical sort of copy of white willow bark. That was originally discovered as, aspirin or whatever. And the white willow bark, it has, instead of having the salicylic acid, it actually has salicin, which your stomach will convert to salicylic acid. So it doesn't actually have the same harmful stomach effects as taking aspirin, which is the acid itself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's much gentler on the stomach, as far as those kind of issues. Not to say, of course, any herb can cause stomach upset. Anything, especially if you're not used to taking it, can cause stomach upset, but it doesn't have those same sort of side effects that an aspirin has.
Okay.
Being the natural form of it, which your body uses to convert into the salicylic acid.
That's incredible.
Yeah, no, it is really interesting. And that it is a really good anti-inflammatory, a natural anti-inflammatory, which is sort of the root cause of so much pain, especially when it comes to joint pain or muscle pain. Inflammation is just, it's almost always there in some form or another. And that's, why these things work so well. These natural herbs work so well for that. And, in fact, even like, in Germany, they have, they're much more, the herbal products are much more mainstream. Like a doctor can prescribe these things for pain medication, right? They actually, even in the 90s, they had something called the German E-Commission, which went through all these different herbal products and decided and looked at the evidence. What do these things work for, and things like that. And white willow bark is like basically a recognized pain reliever there, and the doctors can prescribe that as a medication. Yeah. So they are much more, I guess, less reliant maybe on, say, pharmaceutical products. Not that they don't have them, of course, but, always I think your first line of defense should be, if you can find a natural product that will relieve your pain, that's going to be a better option for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And with the white willow bark, so you get it from the bark of a white willow tree, I assume?
That's right.
And then it goes through some processing, or like
It
turns
does.
into a
Mhm.
powder. Is that right?
It does. Yes. It eventually
Okay.
gets powderized. Yeah. Because, I mean, the white willow bark we use is called a standardized form.
Okay.
So, and there is sort of debates about this in the herbal industry. Should you use a standardized form or not? But we prefer a standardized form, especially because it allows us to ensure like sort of the medicinal ingredient is there in a specific quantity, right? Because, you know, there's probably other compounds in white willow bark other than the salicin that help with the pain relief and inflammation,
Mhm.
that we haven't say identified, because there's always in these
Right.
natural products, they're complex, right?
Mhm.
Multi-factor, multi-way of operating, right?
Mhm.
But one thing we do just to make sure we're getting the salicin is we standardize the white willow bark so it has a defined percentage of salicin. So
Got
it's
it.
more like kind of a natural form of aspirin. So you're getting that targeted pain reliever.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's harvested off of the bark of a tree, so it has to be the
Mhm.
bark. You can't use like the leaves or
Okay.
the roots or because every herb there's different parts of the plant that you have to use in order for
Okay.
to get sort of the right compounds to get the right effect that you're looking for. Yeah.
Okay. That's incredible. And then, so that's one of your big compounds. And then you had mentioned devil's claw as well.
Devil's Claw is another one. Yeah. And
Mhm.
that one, it comes from South Africa. I mean, I wish we could grow these herbs ourselves, but you know how it is.
Yeah.
You need the right climate, you need the right soils, you need all these
Yeah.
factors, right? It's just like, I wish we could grow our own coffee, but that's not going to happen,
Yeah.
right? Like you have to
Yeah.
go where the best coffee comes from. And for like the best Devil's Claw comes from South Africa. So that's where we get it from. And we actually, because again, it's processed, that's harvested and then it's processed. And like it's actually the devil claw we use is processed in Germany, where they probably have like the most advanced like herbal industry.
Okay.
So they make sure the quality is there, make sure it's pure, it's not adulterated, because it's
Mhm.
very easy with herbal products to get mixed in with other things, right? Because it
Right.
becomes very difficult to identify once it's in a powder. It becomes very difficult to identify what the product is. You know what I mean?
Right.
So you have
Yeah.
to make sure that you're using really high quality sources,
Okay.
because the label could say devil's claw or it can say white willow bark, could say all these things, but as regards to the potency and the purity and things like that, it's really really difficult as a consumer to tell what's the potency and what's the purity of these products, right? So
Yeah.
it's really important to use you have to use high quality brands, because you could substitute lower quality ingredients and still get the label claim that you're having white willow bark and devil's claw, but it's not going to be as potent. And, often I think that is a problem with some, especially if the herbal products that are just trying to compete on cost, right?
Mhm.
Because you can always make it cheaper and you can always do this, but then of course it's not as effective, right?
Mhm.
So then people get the idea that these herbal pain relievers, they're not as effective, but if you get the actual potent varieties and, you're buying from good quality sources and you're testing, we test all of our ingredients that come in. There's probably close to 100 tests that get done
Wow.
on these herbal ingredients, for identification,
Mhm.
because we
Yeah.
always want a third party verify that we know, we do trust our suppliers because we use
Mhm.
only the best suppliers, but we do
Mhm.
also test and verify, and we're always, you're testing for a whole bunch of different heavy metals, you're testing for pesticides, you're testing for extract residues, and there's so many things to test for when these herbal products, because it's different than something that you create in a lab. If it's a chemical you create in a lab, you have
Mhm.
a pretty good idea of what you've got there, right? But when you're harvesting something, it's so much different to make sure that you're getting the pure product and, it's not been adulterated or anything, that it's potent and it's pure and it's effective. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's interesting too, because I know there is a push in the United States right now to go more organic so you don't
Hmm.
have all these chemicals in your
Hmm.
food.
Yeah.
And I know some people like to go to other countries to get food because it doesn't have all of these chemicals. Now, is that something that's important for these herbs that are coming from South Africa or Germany?
Hmm.
I'm not sure if that's even a factor that they even need to be organic or not. Do
Yeah,
you
they
know?
they are organic for sure.
Okay.
They are. Yeah,
Okay.
but we always, we verify. That's why we test for all different pesticide residue and things like that,
Okay.
right?
Good.
Just to verify,
Hmm.
that these are all basically organic, and yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
that's amazing. So, okay, so devil's claw, is that which part of the plant that?
That is the root
Okay.
that you use. Yeah, and
Okay.
and again, there's a compound in there. It's called harpagicides, which is sort of considered the active compound in the inflammation action of the
Okay.
devil's claw. And so again, we use a standardized form of devil's claw, so we know it always has a minimum quantity of that anti-inflammatory compound in there. Yeah,
Okay. Oh, that's
yeah,
incredible.
and same with the Boswellia as well. Like there's a Boswellia. I mean, the Boswellia that we have is comes from India. It's essentially it's an Indian frankincense. That's what it actually is. It has a really nice smell, of course, because it's like an incense. But in the Boswellia, it's a resin, kind of like the extract
Okay.
that comes from the tree. It's like a resin. It's and again, that has a number of sort of active compounds that we can test for.
Okay.
A whole bunch of different boswellic acids, like a whole series of them that we can
Okay.
test for, again, for potency and purity, to make sure, it hasn't been like adulterated with something or watered down or substituted or whatever,
Okay.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's an anti-inflammatory, the resin for the boswellia. Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
So are a lot of the herbs and natural pain relievers out there, at least the ones that you're familiar with, are they mostly targeting inflammation?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Sort of the inflammation action, it seems to be sort of the primary mechanism of action. And, just like a lot of drugs, sometimes the mechanism of action is not 100% certain as to exactly how this works.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a matter of, okay, we know that it has these effects. We don't even know necessarily why or which
Yeah.
specific compounds are doing what.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, I mean, even true for like a lot of prescription drugs. They just don't understand exactly how it works. They maybe have a hypothesis. But yeah, I think it's the anti-inflammatory aspect, just because that is so almost universal in pain conditions, is to have
Mm-hmm.
this inflammation. Even it's not visible inflammation, but
Mm-hmm.
it's cellular kind of level inflammation that will trigger up the pain reaction. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's amazing. And now, in your products, do you combine all three of these herbs together, or do you have some products that have one of the herbs and some with other? How does that work?
Well, we use the white willow bark and the devil's claw. We really have two primary sort of capsule products that we use
Mhm.
for like arthritis and joint pain. It's like a
Okay.
joint care formula and an
Okay.
extra strength arthritis. So they both have those in varying quantities.
Hmm.
The extra strength arthritis has another ingredient, and it's called ASU for short, but it's an avocado soybean unsaponifiable. It's kind of basically it's an
Okay.
extract from avocados that works again with an anti-inflammatory action.
Okay.
But again, it's just another. We do these multi-ingredient herbal products because then you're getting multi-action.
Hmm.
Like everyone's going to respond a little bit differently to every different product, and that's
Hmm.
true, whether it be prescription drug or anything, right? Like some people will have a really strong pain relief with, say, a Tylenol or something, and some people aren't going to get any effect at all,
Right.
right? So it's kind of the same, with natural pain relief. Some people are really going to respond to one and not so much the other. So that's why we put in more than one,
Okay.
into the product. So it's kind of a multi-action, and it's addressing, different ways of addressing the pain and inflammation. And, really what we tell people is, we ask them to try usually the joint care first. And if that works for them, stay with that. But if they're not getting adequate sort of pain relief, try the extra strength arthritis, and that one might work. But we find almost universally one of those two is going to work for people, right? And you really don't know until you try, because we don't really know what the source of our pain is really, right? Like, it's just a matter of trying something until it works,
Yeah, a lot of times pain can often come from tissues butting up against each other, creating an inflammatory process that leads to pain. And a lot of arthritis, and what I do is to help people shift so they're not creating those problems. But many times people need that relief and need the decrease in inflammation to even feel like moving and doing something to shift out of the position that's causing them the pain. So something like this, especially that has a natural base to it, where you don't have to be so concerned about side effects. Now, have you heard of any side effects from these herbs? Other than, you had mentioned stomach upset if someone's not used to eating something like this. Are there any other side effects?
Yeah, you can always get stomach upset, absolutely, and there's also, because of, the way some of these, especially the white willow bark and the devil's claw work, is we don't recommend using them if you're on a blood thinner, because they can also sort of have that effect. And that's really sort of the primary interaction that we warn people about, is to avoid using this if you're already in the blood thinner.
Okay.
Yeah. But otherwise, there's really the side effects, because it's essentially, you could think of it as a food item. Some people maybe have a reaction to certain food items, and it would be the same with a herbal item. It's just, yeah.
That's great. So you had mentioned arthritis. Are there very other types of conditions that have been shown to help people, or have you heard from people reaching out to you? Oh my gosh, you helped me with this.
Yeah, well, just a lot of people with back pain, because we also have a back pain product that probably has the highest quantities of the white willow bark in there. And that, and we also, we have, in addition to the capsules, we have like a roll-on pain reliever, and we have cream, and this is based on a pepper extract. Which, and it's an amazingly good pain reliever, especially for anything related to nerve pain. It works kind of different from most, topical pain relievers. Just kind of heat up the area, or either cool it or heat it, and then either bring blood to the area to sort of accelerate maybe pain relief and healing. This pepper extract actually works it gets absorbed into your skin, and it gets absorbed into the pain receptors. And what it does is it depletes a substance that's in your nerves, your pain cells, and depletes that substance, and it sort of makes it more difficult for your body to send the pain signal. And this is like when you put this on, it's experienced kind of as a heating effect, but there is no heating effect. It's just because, the way your body senses heat is like, okay, something is here that's causing, these pain sensors to be depleted. So it depletes the substance P, it's called, in your pain nerves. And so it actually blocks pain right where it's happening. So it's really, really effective pain reliever. And and it actually even works for things like, if you have a bug bite, you can put this LaKota around to circle your bug bite. And because it's depleting that substance that causes, that itchy irritation, it's all of a sudden you don't get the itch from this bug bite. But it really works for joint pain and muscle pain, because it's blocking the pain at the source, allowing you, like you say, to move around and to sort of get to the underlying cause of those pain conditions, because so often it's our pain is caused by, something that we're doing, whether it's like a posture, or I know like they're breathing the wrong way, especially over long periods of time, will kind of like put our body out of sync and out of balance. And eventually that gets sort of manifested as a pain signal, right?
Yep.
And the other thing, I think that you talk a lot about the awareness, being aware of how your body is, feeling and responding. And I think really this is so key because so our body's always talking to us. It's always, but you can kind of say it's whispering to us. If we don't listen to that whisper, eventually our body's going to start yelling at us. And that is the pain signal. It's like, you need to change what you're doing here. So I think it's so important to help people learn to listen to their body and be aware of what their body's doing and how it's feeling. Because if we don't listen to our body sort of when it's whispering at us, it's going to start yelling at us,
Yeah. So true. And it's great to hear that this natural pepper extract actually helps with bug bites too. I'm curious, does it help with mosquito bites? Because that is
absolutely, yes. Anything that's like itching or something. Yeah.
It would be great. I was just at actually where I met Tara and Kent. We were in Belize, and there were quite a few mosquitoes that were attacking us. So I wonder if they had some of the extract, and if they didn't, I bet they wish they had brought it with them.
Yeah, I'm sure they travel with it all the time because it's so, so convenient. If you get little aches and pains, it's basically got a roller ball. So you just roll it on,
nice.
Because it is a pepper extract. So you don't want to get it on your hands and then touch your eyes because it will sting, right? It's like, it's like a hot pepper, like it's a really, really hot pepper extract, right? So it's not something you want to get in your eyes or, but it is so effective. And actually we have a product for diabetic foot pain.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's the same basic ingredient, but it's a little bit stronger because, that's a very difficult pain to deal with. Right.
Okay.
So it's a cream that people put on their feet. And again, it works by blocking that pain signal right at the source, so you don't get those pins and needles and the stabbing and everything like that, right?
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Wow. So you help with arthritis, back pain, bug bites, nerve pain, diabetes, the foot pain. That's also usually related to nerves. There's quite a few different things. So would you say the capsules are kind of for people who have kind of generalized body aches and pains, and then maybe the roll-ons or the creams are more localized, or
it's like really the capsules. I mean, it takes, they don't work the same way as like a pharmaceutical pain relief that you take them and you get, say, instant relief. You have to take them for a while. We recommend taking them for a month to get to kind of work that inflammation down over time. So it is really for people that have kind of chronic pain conditions of some sort. Whereas the roll-on product, you definitely, lots of people use that for chronic pain because you get that relief, but it also works, nearly instantly. Within minutes you get this instant pain relief. So it's kind of a good like 1-2 punch. You relieve your pain that's really bothering you. You can put this on the area, whether it's your knee or your shoulder or whatever, your back. You put on the roll-on pain reliever, and that gives you sort of the instant relief. And then you use the capsules to kind of long-term work down that inflammation over time. Yeah.
Okay. That's wonderful. And I know I even saw on your website that you have stuff for animals, pets.
We do. We do make a one for dogs as well. And again, that's so popular because, well, arthritis is especially common with dogs. Almost all older dogs will get arthritis, and nobody wants to see their dog in pain. Right.
No.
So, and because it works so well, we get so many good testimonials about the dog product because people can see the difference in their dog, right? Yeah. And it's a chewable beef liver flavored, so it's basically like a treat that you can give your dog. So that's incredible. Very popular on the website especially.
Oh, that's wonderful. So what is the website and how can people go order?
The website's LaKotaHerbs.com. Yeah,
Okay.
we do sell all the products online, and they're available, in most drugstores in Canada as well.
Okay.
It did actually become like the number one topical pain reliever in Canada, just because it works so well, and it's just a unique product. And, over the years, we've had some just unique, forms of marketing and advertising. So it's a very well-known product in Canada. Yeah.
That's great. And if they're in the US, can you ship to the US? Are you
We
allowed
do
to?
ship. We
Okay.
sure do. We do ship to the US. Yeah. When
Okay.
people order from the website. Yes, we do.
That's wonderful to hear. Well, I really appreciate you sharing all this. And you also have a natural health magazine as well, right?
We do. We started, years ago, we actually did an arthritis news sort of insert into newspapers. But that kind of transitioned into, we actually have like a full-blown magazine now. And that's just about, ways of relieving your pain without resorting to drugs, because there's so many, and basically just healthy living, because again, like your pain is just a signal that maybe something's going wrong. So we kind of back up a step, and how do you live healthy, to try to maybe avoid pain in the future, because there's so many factors that go into pain. Like pain is, it's complex, right? And often it develops over many years. And, what your food, your exercise, your movement, your sleep, and, all these things. And even, of course, your emotional state, your mental state, and even your social situations can impact your pain levels, right?
Yes.
So in this magazine, we kind of address all these things to help people basically live pain-free lives, without, in basically a natural way. Right. And it's just something, we can think about it like we're in the business, say, of selling pain relievers. And if people are pain-free, they're not going to buy a product, but really that's what we want to do. Right. Like our mission is not to sell product. Our mission is to relieve people's pain. Right. That's really what we want to do. And if we can help them with this magazine, just giving information, because we'll give it to anybody. We have free subscriptions available to anybody, whether they're a customer or not. Yeah. I mean, we can do that now. I mean, if we got to 1 million subscriptions, we might not be able to keep funding that. But as of right now, we offer free subscriptions to anybody that asks for this health magazine, because it's our mission is just to relieve people's pain, to help people. Right. It's that's what we want to do at LaKota. It's not. Yeah.
That's wonderful. And one more time, the website, and can you spell it?
It's LaKotaHerbs.com. So LAKOTA, and then herbs, HERBS, just like herbals, and all one word. Yeah. No spaces or dashes or anything. It's LaKotaHerbs.com. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. And does LaKota stand for anything that you're aware of?
It's the name of it's the original, the imagery on the packaging and stuff. Yeah.
Okay. Wonderful. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us today. And thanks for sharing so much great information about the herbs and different aspects of natural pain relieving products. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. It was great talking to you. Yeah.
Wonderful.
And again, I'm a big fan of what you're doing on your website and with your program there. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And thank you all for joining us today. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend. We'll see you again next week. Bye now.
Sounds good.